in our last podcast, we talked about like rending the veil and the idea of the Watchers.
Hmm.
And in that episode, I was talking to you about I think it actually might not have been our last one, but in a previous one.
Yep.
Um, and I was saying like, well, what does that what does that actually mean? Like rending the veil or passing through it. And you were specifically like referring to the idea of like rending the veil for somebody else and like your concerns about doing that or notes of caution around that. And so I don't know. I guess the first question would be like, what does that actually mean? Like whether you're doing it for yourself or
For yourself, it's not a problem. I mean, other than the fact that if you're tinkering around and you act, um,
but what does it actually mean? Like, can you define what that means to rend the veil
yeah,
or to
it
part the
means,
veil or
yeah, it means to literally see. Let's see, how do I phrase this? Maybe just talk around it so that you kind of
yeah,
get
that's
the
fine.
idea of it. Okay, I can't
Yeah,
give you
yeah.
like a here's the
Definition.
dictionary definition of.
Come on, man.
Somebody's gonna
Yeah.
hang me on that one.
Yeah.
Um, the way I understand rending the veil means um, to see beyond the physical, literally to see the energetic or the spiritual, if you will. So, like either A, superimposed on this, or or in its or not a replacement for, but below the level of physical nature,
What do you mean by
below, above, whatever you want to call it, trans physical nature, right? So beyond physical nature.
right, right.
So whether in
Either
partial,
right.
like how like with seeing, right? If you go through the four exercises, you get to the fourth exercise, and we say it's, they nickname it the poof, right? Where it's like, you know, um, you either get like a white screen, and then beyond that you're just seeing the energetic. You don't see the physical overlay of the objects that you're looking at or whatever, right?
Right. And if somebody were curious about that, they could watch the How to See Energy program, which is
Absolutely.
all available on our website.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good way to test your metal, as far as if you're, even though it's again, some of the most simple exercises produce the most profound effects, right?
And in
So
this
it's like,
case, you're talking about gazing.
yeah, gazing, because that's stopping the world in castanata terms, right? It's like your mind stops naming the things that you see, because you can't discern between you know the edges of this computer and what it's sitting on, and the desk within the room, within the, like you might see that in a third stage, but you'd see the energetic overlay of that with the connections. But in the fourth stage, the connections go away, and you don't see the physical material. You're just seeing the energetic underpinnings of all of that. So it's very, very disconcerting. And so everybody, it's so funny. It's like all of this stuff, right? When you first start it, that's what your vision is of all this stuff. That's what that's why when I made the joke last night, like, you want to jump ahead to shaking the pillars of the universe, and seeing what kind of fruit will fall out, right? So, but there's a big difference between a huge difference between an abyss difference between thinking about what that's going to be like and the actuality of it happening.
In this case, your example is with the seeing.
With seeing, right?
Yeah.
Because
And in this case, you're talking about
that's the most attainable at this point.
right. And what you mean is like, because at first it would be just that you're gazing and everything looks relatively normal, then flat, then, your vision of the world starts to kind of swirl. And
Yep, it
then,
morphs.
yeah. And then,
You'll start to see the energetic underpinnings coming through that. So it's like, even though, you can, if, and that's the thing, right? Like, if you go into more of a focus, because your conscious mind is going to go, whoa, 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 you
yeah.
know, Imagine just being in a place that even if you're sure of it, but you just turn the lights off and there's complete blackness. You kind of know where you are. You kind of know there's a chair here, or there's a whatever there, or whatever. But instead of just like wandering through it, you stop, you freeze, right? Because it's like, what happened? Where am I? I have no reference point for where I am right now.
Yeah.
So imagine that times a magnitude, where it's like, yeah, it's cool, it's psychedelic, it's whatever you want to call it, but then when it increases more and more and more, there's definitely your conscious mind is going to go, what the hell are you doing? I have no reference point for this. That means, fear. That means, uh, how do I bring you back to anchoring to something that you know? And whether we consciously understand that we're doing that all the time or not, we're doing it all the time. We're not, it's hard to look at something that you know and not name it in your mind, right? It's like, look at anything that you know. Look at your cat and not think of the name or think that it's a cat or think that it's black and white or think that it's hard to take all those things out and just be like, it's something, you know, but I
Right.
can't identify, I can't label it, I can't name it. And so
It's
stopping the
interesting.
world is not naming something.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like when Sadhguru talks about like his childhood and like growing up and stuff like that, he said that like he was always like just staring, basically like gazing and focusing on things for like hours.
That's what
And he
I did
said,
in the woods. I mean, I've
yeah.
told you those stories. I mean,
And he would talk about how like part of it was that he approached everything with this deep sense of like not knowing what it is, with this sense of like people say that it's water or whatever, right? But I don't know what that is. So he was like, basically fixedly staring at things. He said he would even lay in his room at night and just stare into the dark and stuff like that
I
for
mean,
like,
I can't,
and
I
I'm like,
definitely can tell you for sure that I didn't have the profound idea of what he's saying, of
right, right,
doing that. I was just doing it because I thought the phenomena was interesting and how far would that phenomena go?
right,
Like
right.
I didn't, as a kid, I mean, I was like, you know, middle school or something, like maybe even earlier than that, like
Yeah,
between 7 and, maybe not 7, but probably like 8 or 9, at the earliest to, maybe, I mean, through the rest of my life, right? But long stretches of that because we lived in the country. We had no neighbors. I didn't have friends other than in school, and they didn't live where we lived, and just my siblings. So, like any sibling, you're trying to get, and being the oldest, I was always trying to get away from my siblings to some degree, obviously. I mean, there's a little tongue in cheek there, but
yeah,
because we did, I mean, we only had each other, so we banded together and fought and played and had fun and tried to kill each other and all that good stuff, but at the same time, there were plenty of times when I've always had that bit of distance, and and so, but the forest was always very compelling to me, and just sitting there and like staring and waiting for things. I always had that anticipation that something was going to happen or something or someone or something would show up, that wasn't available to everyone. It's some weird kind of concept in my head as a child. I mean, you can't really articulate it that well, right? But I mean, beyond the monster under the bed or in the closet, right? It was like I was invoking it to some degree, like really anticipating that any minute something's going to come out of the bushes or any minute something's going to, I mean, I'd probably shit myself, but it would, I just kept doing it and doing it. And then that's how it sort of came about, it's like, and I noticed, you know, colors and lights and, you know, different, what now reminds me of like mid-level psychedelic kind of imagery, you know. like geometric patterns, lights superimposed and geometric forms superimposed over the things that I was viewing at the time. Um,
And does that happen now when you do gazing like
oh
that
yeah.
in the woods? Oh, okay.
If I stick in that place, it's like there's still a transition between them. It's just it's much shorter now, but I can stay in those places if I want.
Different stages of seeing,
Yeah,
basically, of
yeah,
seeing energy.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So that would be so the psychedelic like things you were seeing as a child, like the geometric patterns and lights and whatever, that would be that like um maybe like what the second or third stage or something where like things are moving and shifting and then like the energetic underpinnings are starting to shine through and
And
come through
the
in
funny
different
thing is, I
ways.
remember even as a kid, like it would even start like from that first phase of like flat, like no depth, right? No depth perception. So it all looked like on a flat plane. And then those lights would start to come through, or even before it would start to morph, start to change or move, right?
And what you're saying about the poof stage or the fourth stage of that, that would be like everything physical disappears in your vision and you're
And
only
only
seeing,
the energetics are there. So
right?
you're seeing, my way of thinking about you're seeing the underpinnings of, you're seeing the energetic anchor for the physical material. And the physical material becomes more uh, becomes the primary sense that you have by naming it, right? So it's like that's the weird part is that in naming things, you give it an anchor to the physical realm.
Hmm.
So, because there's no like energetic archetype for a mouse. I mean, a computer mouse, right? But there's an energetic form that produces that outcropping. And the way that we anchor it into this world so that it doesn't churn into something else or that it doesn't go away or appear somewhere else when we want to is because we name it, right? So it anchors it in that form for ourselves, right?
What you're saying sounds a little crazy.
It does, it's like, I mean, there are stories about remember the story that Alberto used to talk about with um, that the shamans told him about, like in the Incan times, where when the Spanish first came to the New World, they couldn't see the ships because they had no concept of what an ocean going vessel would look like, that kind of thing. So only certain ones of them, they knew something was there, but they didn't know what it was. And so because they couldn't name it, it was kind of this amorphous thing. They didn't know, right? So that's kind of how they got crunched, by that. So, it's not like if it's not there, it can't hurt you, or if it's not there, it can't, you know, it doesn't have any impact on you. Obviously, it does, but um, yeah, it's a weird kind of
So,
strange territory to be in.
the idea of rending the veil is basically like,
Literally showing, or if you're doing it for yourself, it's experiencing that, and for me, it would be experiencing that a number of times, right? So, because I like to verify things. So, experiencing that a number of times so that it's not just a one-off or that you're having a mental break or that you're having, a psychedelic episode or God knows what, you know. And children are a lot more flexible, right? Because they don't always know what everything is, and they have that idea that there's way every child thinks that there's way more than what adults physically see because adults have anchored all these physical phenomena in place by naming everything.
so like examples of rending the veil would be like seeing or lucid dreaming or having some type of contact spiritually.
Yep.
Um, and uh, would you consider like plant medicine experiences to be in that category?
I think it's a bridge
A
to
way
that.
to do that.
Yeah. And
Um,
I think it's, it can be difficult for people because you know, if they haven't done it without that, it makes it very difficult. It's like it's forcing the issue. right? Like you take it, there's no getting out of it, right? You take 3 grams of psilocybin, there's no getting out of seeing things and or experiencing, let's say, more than just the physical nature of something,
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
so, you know, when you're, when you break a paradigm that you're so invested in, that can be very traumatic. And that struggle makes for a bad trip.
Right. Is there a difference between rending the veil and like samadhi?
Hmm. Well, I've never heard of somebody. I mean, if somebody could actually induce samadhi for somebody else, then I would say no,
What
you
do you
know.
mean? Like
But you,
just in terms of like the idea of rending the veil. Would
yeah, I think it's the same. It's just another aspect of that.
and I always think of samadhi as being like people it's like make me one with everything,
That's
right?
right.
So,
Make me one with
right.
every. That's exactly what
Where the
samadhi
boundaries of
is.
like your identity expand to encompass more than just your physical self,
Right.
basically.
Right. Like it's so close. I mean, you still like I've not heard of somebody actually losing themselves in samadhi. Like that's kind of like melding with the void, from a Buddhist perspective or a Hindu perspective, like, you know, you you intentionally lose your own identity to become one with the one or the all or whatever, right? So, um, but most samadhi experiences, from what I understand from other people having them, from yoga traditions and things like that, is that you still you still know you're you, but it's just that you see that you're intimately connected with everything that's out there, from you know, every energetic thing, every physical thing, every person, every plant and animal and whatever else, planet, whatever, right? So you're connect there is no delineation between me and it, right? So
Would you say that you've had that experience?
I've had that experience. It's not something that that I try to induce, it's I just I mean, at this point, I just take it for granted that that's the case to some degree,
Right.
you know.
Hmm. So like uh and what about this like idea of like the watchers? Because you do mention that sometimes. So I'm curious like what
The
how
Watchers can be, it's more of a concept, and some traditions use it more as a general concept. Some traditions, mostly the, old school magic, those types of things, ritual magic, ceremonial magic, they think of them as being actual aspects or entities of, the one. So, and they're sort of like the gatekeepers, in general. Like, you know, you shall not pass, unless
how,
you can just acknowledge us and just walk through, right? Like you can keep your focus, that
yeah, like
okay.
what was it? Again, always mentioning him, but Sadhguru had this video where he was talking about how like in a lot of traditions, and I don't know if this was like a Tibetan thing or like a something like that, but he was talking about how they have um and I think he was talking about it specifically within the context of opening the like the throat chakra and like
Mm-hmm.
activating that. And he was saying like when you it's like he's like the first time when you first like see in basically rend the veil or like see into other more spiritual or subtle dimensions or whatever. He's like they say that the first thing you see are like demons basically, or something like that. Like it was this idea of like the first thing that you confront is like uh things that like challenge you or frighten you
Challenging.
or whatever, right?
And so
Um,
they can, because if you build that up in your mind, or you
maybe demons is the wrong word because
but
I feel like every
I know
people
what you
would
mean, though.
interpret that
Yeah,
in like a
because
really
people will
ultra
interpret things
negative
as
way.
being kind of, fearful of that, right? It's
Right,
like,
right.
um, and it is. I mean, like even in a lot of Hermetic literature, it's like, it's two robed. very large robed figures that you can't see their faces, right? So very classic kind of like, ooh, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
dark robes, the whole 9 yards, but they're standing there and waiting for you to address them, right? But if you just
yeah.
try to go by, it's like they sort of give you a challenge, a challenge word or a challenge, whatever. What are you doing here? That kind of thing. So, and you have to, there's a little, at least in Hermetics, there's a little saying that they sort of do, Also, they
Which is
think the
what?
same thing that's at death. I'll paraphrase it. It's something like, you know, um, um, it's something like I'm a human, but I'm born of the stars, something like that. And
Huh.
allow me to pass so I can drink from the lake of memory. And so it's almost like a bifurcated road. If you veer off, you do the reincarnation thing and you come back without memory, right? You're starting over again, brand new body, brand new mind, blah blah blah. Go through the whole process. And if you drink from the lake of memory, you can choose to come back, but you also regain the memories of all your past, and you regain the memories of where you are now, and that you are intentionally reincarnating, and you kind of go forward from that point.
Hmm.
So
Okay. Yeah. So, but that would be more in regard to like after death slash reincarnation ideas. But when it comes to like, a lot of the time you talk about, and also that was also like a description of like, the idea of like maybe being, having other perceptions and encountering something. But I think in a way like it paints the picture of like, oh, I'm going to have a lucid dream or gaze and then have this vision where like there's two figures like that or something like that, and they're literally like the watchers and they're going to be there, and then it's literally going to be like that. But is that the case, or is because you also talk about
it
them?
depends on how you personify. Like me, I love to, you know, I anthropomorphize all these concepts, right? Because it's easier for me to deal with it if it's something that I can focus on rather than these abstract kind of things, right?
Right.
And
But you
so
also talk about watchers as being almost like whether they're aspects of yourself or aspects of nature or whatever, but like almost like forces that are like, hey, like um I don't know, like what did you say? One time you were talking about the idea of uh like if you go into some type of lucid dream or plant medicine experience or whatever, or you set this intention like, hey, I want to get to this place or be in
mhm.
this vibration or whatever.
Yep.
And the first thing that you encounter is like all the stuff that's keeping you from being in that place, as and because that's the stuff you have to like deal with, like the baggage or the heaviness or the resistance or whatever it is within you that would hold you back from acclimating to that vibration that you want to be in. And would that be is that an example of like the watchers in your mind,
Yeah, it's
even
like
though it's internal and kind of like subjective?
it is, but it's both, right? It's not this or that. It's both, right? It's the same phenomena coming through you or an aspect of you, that's there to challenge you. And look,
Mm,
I mean, we don't have to mince words, right? We all know when we're fucking around,
mm,
right? And we all know when we're being as diligent as we can be, right? And so it's why, seriously, like, you know, like I always use the most extreme example, like evocation, right? Evocation to physical manifestation. Can you do it? Sure. How many people that even train to do it can actually pull it off? About 2%, right? Because even people that are well trained and know how to do the process and go through it and they're, meticulous about doing it, you know, why is it only 2% that succeed? Because most people don't get past stepping inside the circle, because as soon as you step inside the circle, the first thing that confronts you, the watchers, um, internally relay all the shit that you didn't do enough of. All the doubts, all the fears, all the, things that the questions that you didn't answer fully. You just tried to get through it because it takes so long to do, right? I mean, it might take a person the first time they do that, it might take them a year of analysis to, to really get to the point where they understand every aspect of that ritual, and that they've done it well, right? Like there are no questions in your mind anymore. Like you have done your absolute best to get through all this stuff and you understand every aspect. If I were to go, or anybody were to go and say, what does that symbol mean? What does this circle mean? What does this thing mean? You could just like, you'd rattle it off. It'd be like, there's no doubt in your mind. There would be no hesitation. Everything was there. Well, how many people can't do that with a test they've studied for? You know, it's like,
Mm,
how many
yeah.
people have mastery level of any situation, Um, I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, like, when you do a PhD challenge, you've got, a little bit on the lower end of that, but, like you've got, seven professors that are PhDs that are going to challenge you on all of your claims about, your thesis, right? And if you can't rise to the challenge, you don't get it, right? Or not well enough, right? So all those doubts, all those fears come to confront you as soon as you step in. So, and that's why most people step right back out again because it's the first thing they're challenged on. So, it's the same thing with rending the veil. The watchers challenge you as soon as that concept, even in an abstract way, the first thing that happens when you enter into an unknown is you start questioning, right? First of all, you're looking for a reference point. And if you can't find it, the only reference point you have is yourself. And so if you're not, and it's not just confidence, right? It's actual knowing, it's experience, right? Like the next thing to do. Can you take the fear that's generated by your conscious mind and crush it, and hold it, bind it, so that you can move forward with the next thing? You know, it's a struggle of wills, which we know is another step in the evocation process, right? It's like the thing that you've, evoked, the thing that you've conjured is there's a struggle of wills with the practitioner that is constantly challenging you, trying to be not, well, I guess in a way berate, but not in a, I mean, it could be a malicious way, but it doesn't always have to be. It can just be like, who are you? What are you doing here? You suck. What are you, you know, blah, 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 blah. It's like challenging, like, you know, you think, the one is going to really take your side on this shit. What, it's like, you know, it's like there's, think of the worst movie scenario of that, and then again, multiply it by a magnitude, and you've got like, what we're talking about. So it's,
It makes me think of that movie we watched, The Pope's Exorcist,
yeah,
with
yeah,
Russell
exactly.
Crowe, and like he develops this like what's the right word for it? Almost like comedic kind of attitude towards the possessed when he's like trying to do exorcisms with people, almost like making jokes and stuff, and self-deprecating jokes too, like
Absolutely.
not taking himself seriously and not like,
Yeah, because,
he had.
but that the essence of that isn't, this is a coping mechanism. The essence of that really, I mean, that looks like that on a superficial level. The essence of it is, I'm not here as me. I represent the one. And there's nothing that you can do that can overwhelm that. But you have to be in possession of that. And that's a very difficult thing to do, in real life. So, I mean, if people could really do that, it'd be, you would have no struggles.
Do
You
you
would you would walk through this life like the one, right? As a true, aspect of the one. Now you're talking like not just master level, like angelic level, right? Like beyond that, So it's, that's a daunting task. And all these other things are, on the lower part of the spectrum of that, right? So, lucid dreaming, those types of things, contact in any form, um, you know, those are sort of, meditations, gazing, seeing. All of those things are like, I mean, I hate to say it, but those are all minor levels of the phenomena that we're talking about because those things aren't going to harm you, right? It's you overcoming the fear of moving, of change, of flipping the paradigm that you've grown up with for however many years you've been on this earth. And the the masses of people that you have contact with and even people you don't know that are supporting that physical, there's only physical reality and that's the end of it, that you can engage in. So, you know, that's a that's a huge whirlpool that you're trying to swim against, you know. And so it takes a lot of step-by-step training to actually bring yourself to that point. And then to overcome it, are you, can you do it? So for me, it was always I'm just a weird person, it's like that challenge intrigues me for me more than, like just the, it's not a prize at the end. It intrigues me to see if I can do it. So,
I guess, and just to speak almost confessionally again, I just feel like it's the best way to do this, is like I almost feel there's an aspect of me that is angry about how difficult it is, actually.
why? I mean, it's like it's set up this way, to literally make, if you want to experience that, you have, I mean, I don't want to use the word worthy, right? But to, to feel like you didn't, you didn't slip in the back door, you didn't like,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? Like to be there and not feel guilty about being there because you played some kind of angle, some kind of
Yeah, but
end run that got you in. No, you did the work. You've done all this stuff and you overcame your own fears and you're putting the the promise of a new paradigm over the paradigm that you know. That's huge. That's so huge.
yeah, like I almost have this sense of like it almost just feels like nothing less than like 100% commitment will allow me to pass through that.
How could it be anything less?
It's just like, but it's just interesting that it's not like, it feels like it's almost like the 80-20 rule kind of, but like
Yeah,
in
yeah.
reverse almost. It's almost like it almost feels like the first like 80% of your efforts only get you like 20% of the like results or something like that.
No,
And like that last 20% gives you the 80% or
no, no,
something like
no, 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 no,
if
no.
that's not the case, then
It's
I'm
not the
really
case.
screwed.
That is almost a universal law, yeah, that Pareto theory works on everything. So yeah, it takes 20% of your energy to get, to that threshold. And then it takes, you know, 80% of your energy to push yourself because now you have nothing to rely on. You've done all the work, you've done all these things. It's just you and, your resolve that's making you take that next step and busting through, like your fears, your doubts, you know, I mean, how devastating would it be if you did all that and went through it and then
Nothing happened.
nothing?
Yeah, yeah.
It's not even, I mean, you know, it's, but that's a huge fear, right? I mean, even if it's not conscious, that would be a huge thing. Most people would, better the devil you know than the devil you don't know, right? So, you know, it's way easier just to fantasize about it and not really explore it, and give it lip service and say, yeah, I believe that, well, not really, you know. Because if you really knew that was the case, how many people would be, devoting themselves to experiencing that? Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to, right? If you even had an inkling that it was there, why wouldn't you? And
Yeah.
then it's just, again, you know, the Taoists would say, you creep up to the window and you know, a number of times before you even dare look in, right? Or look out, and then then you crack the door open, and then you know, then you just then you shut it again real quick, right? You just take a quick look and shut the door. Then you come back, you take a quick look, and maybe a couple more minutes, and then you shut the door, right? You haven't even gone through the doorway yet. You're inching your way to the thing, and that's a proper way to do it, right?
Hmm.
And those are those cracks in the door are the moments like, seeing for a split instant, and then it goes away and it's hard to repeat again, right? So why is it hard to repeat again? You would think that, oh, I've done it, now I can do it. It's like, no, because you're afraid that it's going to be more than that, or that you're going to
You-
be or that you're going to be in that unprepared, right? Like you're going to get locked in that and you're going to be unprepared for that. So, there's all of these levels of fear that keep us from taking that next step, going forward a little bit more, a little bit more. So it's we're designed that way, you know and that two different aspects of our mind, the subconscious and the conscious mind. The conscious mind is, it's your friend and your jailer, right? Like it will do anything to keep the status quo. It will do anything to keep you rooted in the physical, because that's what that's the majority of your experience. To break that paradigm is to, potentially break you, and its job is to keep you alive.
I guess the question is like, does the energetic, let's say, or the spiritual or whatever, right? The what's on the other side of this veil that we're rending, right? Provide does crossing that threshold and opening your perception to that more and more actually provide uh benefit to your physical life? Because when you think about like the conscious mind being like, oh no, that's scary, that's the unknown, and you want to keep me engaged in the physical, or where it's safe, let's say, right? um I guess the thing is like, is this rending of the veil going to be an improvement? Is it going to help me somehow, or is it
Let
just
me
going to make
ask you
things more
something.
complicated or more
Let me
difficult?
ask you something back. And, because I'm a bastard that way.
Great. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
If I said I could snap my fingers and you would have at minimum 50% less stress in your life from all territories, would that be better for your life?
Fuck yeah.
You might even go for 20%. Okay. But if I'm really being honest,
Hey, if you're snapping
50%,
your fingers, man, and making things happen, I'll take whatever numbers you're dishing out.
that's it. That's it. So, that's the deal. So it's like, yeah, in that way, yes, because so many things are,
but I would say,
resolved for you.
okay, but I would say that like up to this point, most of my experiences in terms of even like lucid dreaming, plant
Mhm.
medicine, seeing, like everything, all of my experiences, not there's like, I would say like, trying to think of like a percentage, but let's just say even if it's like 50-50, which is I think being generous on the positive side. But like I would say at least 50% of my experiences are like more stress inducing than stress relieving, I would say.
Why do
And
you think that is?
I don't know, but it's super pisses me off. I'm like, that's the thing I'm angry about. Cause I'm like, what, like, first of all, it's insanely difficult in my perception of it, in my experience of it. Second of all, it's like half the time it's feels like it is inducing more stress. So I'm like, what the fuck? Like I it's like how, so am I, is that because I'm like a fucked up human, or is that because I'm doing something wrong, or is it because like I'm just like approaching it in the wrong way, or I don't have enough discipline in a specific area, or I'm not doing enough of something, or what? Because it's like I don't, is that just nature? Like, is that just what like nature and life is? Like one time, uh, I mentioned this before, but I was watching a Sad Guru video where he was talking about how like he was like, you have a brutal creator. It sounds like I'm being brutal in this description right now of nature, of, this aspect of nature you're asking me about, but it's not me. I'm just articulating it. And the fact is your creator is brutal, has a brutal aspect. And so it's like, is that what we're talking about? Is it just like, okay, I put myself in this like human configuration to give myself this challenge of like having the desire for being, having the desire for more experience of what's on the other side, let's say, but not having the like, not feeling like I have the wherewithal to like make it happen in the way that I would like to, or have it give me like positive returns that feel like it's worth it to put more into it. It's almost like even when I do like burning meditation, sometimes it feels like I'm putting in like 90% effort and getting like this like 10% of feeling better back. But regardless of how much I do it, it doesn't feel like that just like keeps compounding and getting like way better. It's like, no, I'm just doing this exercise that's very difficult, that takes a lot of discipline to like make sure I set aside time for, that I do it, and that but and I practice it, try to get better at it, but it's, as much as I do it, it's like it just gets me to this like a little bit better, and then I maintain that like a little bit better. And it's not like, oh wow, things are like really like, oh wow, I should keep doing this because things are feeling so much better or getting so much better. It's like, okay, you're like 10% better, and that's like, but this enormous effort just to have like 10% better from it's like, so, or like lucid dreaming, it's like, oh, getting up in the middle of the night, like wrecking my sleep, like feeling like garbage the next day, like, and then it's like, and then when I do get in, just getting into this like chaotic, like non-controllable experience that's like not giving me any like profound insights, or it's not like I can stay there for very long or have this great experience. It's like, no, I'm just aware of my like fucking crazy ass dream world, aware in it, So it's like, okay, like, yeah, okay. I know I'm just like complaining, and
No, 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 no,
maybe I'm
no.
just being
No,
a
they're
bitch,
good.
but like,
Ah, ah.
but like, but
Well, you
it's,
are,
but
but
I am, I know, and it's okay. I'm aware that I am, but maybe part of my role in all this is like having the experience of the challenge and being a bitch about it, and then asking you for help and letting everybody listen to what you have to say about that.
well,
How are you going to
to
help me,
some
Brian?
degree. I mean, I think part of it is, it heightens our sense of separation anxiety, you know, because you're not focused on the moments that you're there, you're focused on the 99.9% of the time that you're actually here struggling.
Yeah, right.
So, it makes it more poignant. Take away, somebody with chronic pain, if you take their pain away for a week and then it comes back, it seems like it's 1,000 times worse than it was before they started.
Yeah, sure.
And would they give, because they've acclimated to the chronic pain, right?
Hmm.
It's all, we live in a very relativistic world, right? So it's
Yeah,
like, here's that thing that I'm struggling to get to, this almost nirvana like
right.
scenario, and then I got to come back, and I didn't get to do what I wanted to do, and you just have to keep applying yourself. I mean, I think that's part of the Watchers too, is like, you know, as a concept, right? It's not like there's some being there that's, other than yourself that's throwing you back, because you're not worthy or whatever. It's more like, you know, there's a threshold like everything, right? And so, when you hit that threshold, and we're all different when that is, um, you have much more much easier access to it and much more frequent. And so then that frequency and the access and the amount of time that you spend there starts to become more and more, right? So, um, and and as a side note, this becomes not that you're ignoring this, but it becomes less relevant in your total life, right? It's very relevant for your physical life right now, but again, you're seeing it from a different perspective. So things have a much less impact on you. Again, it's not that we're ignoring it or anything like that. It was just the perspective of it is, you know, it's like, would you rather, I mean, probably a really bad analogy, you know, would you, would you rather, uh, would you shy away from the pain of a injection and experience like, rabies or something, that's 100% lethal, and a pretty fucking horrid death, So because
Yeah.
you were afraid to get a pinprick, or
Yeah.
10 pinpricks or whatever the hell it is these days, right? So, it's
Yeah.
you know, and it's hard, right? Because I mean, those are physical analogies, right? And then it's like this is something where it's even a layer more, I don't want to call it cruel, but in a way, the way we would think about it in our terms, kind of, it's like, oh, look, you know, here's what you really are, but not today, you know. Someday, you'll just enter this, and you're going to get another whack at it or whatever. So, and for some people, that's enough, and they can just let it go, and they'll be done. For other idiots like me, it's like I have to keep pushing, and keep pressing myself into that territory over and over and over again to claim as much of it as I can. You know,
What does that
ex-
mean to you? Claim as much of it as you can.
make more of the unknown known to myself, have the experiences, and that
But what it sounds like,
balances my life out.
what it sounds like when you're talking about that is that like the unknown or the invisible or the spiritual or whatever, it's on that other side of that veil, let's say, um, is like this physical dimension in the sense that you're almost like mapping it and like exploring it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And would you describe it
That's what it feels like to me.
like take a left and you're going to get to this place, take a right and you're going to get to this place, and take
Hold your mind on this focus and you'll get to that place, or hold your mind on focus of meeting other, and it won't just be an aspect of yourself, and here's how you differentiate, that kind of thing. So it's like you're constantly pushing the boundaries of, you know, what your normal experience is there, just like you would here, like your normal experience of driving a car, and then somebody offers you the experience of driving a really incredible sports car or something, like, how, it's not like, I mean, you'd be an idiot if you tried to do 200 miles an hour in the damn thing if you didn't know what you were doing, right? But you might work up to it. And, uh, you know, but do you deny yourself new experiences here because the potential is that you'll never repeat them?
no, yeah,
No, of
right,
course
yeah,
not.
yeah, yeah.
Like it's the same thing. So it's like, you know,
So
is it
what do you
better to know and struggle to get back there, or is it better to just kind of have an idea that you want to believe that that's true and just let it go at that, and just concentrate on the physical and be part of the herd, right?
I think it comes back to something that you said on the call the other night too, was like where you're saying the solution is to just keep applying yourself, right? And for me, like part of, I think what comes up when I think about like applying myself is having a greater degree of clarity about like what it is that I want, you know, as a replacement for the experience that I'm having now, you know, like, you know, but yeah, I guess I think probably a lot of people are question themselves a lot about what that is or what that would look like.
Sure.
And I feel like you, maybe just from your experience, possess a lot of confidence about like whatever it is that you're going to go after next or try to, whatever kind of experience it is that you might want to induce, or you know, because for a lot, I mean, I guess the first step in any of these things that we've put out there is like just rend the veil at all, get like that peek out the window, crack through the door, like just have the lucid dream, or just get to the place where gazing starts to look a little different, or just, you know, do this burning meditation and feel a little better
Or
over
have a
time.
split instance. Another one is have a split instance of no mind.
Mm,
You know, that's a very difficult one to do. You know, very difficult. So you have to apply yourself for quite a long time to be able to achieve that. I mean, really achieve it. There's no, people can say it, but there's really no, it's, that's not something that you would miss or mistake for some other thing. You know what I mean? Like it's so profound that even an instant of doing it, it's so shocking that that's usually what's brings you back in. It's very hard to hold that place,
mm,
you
okay.
know, because you're just not. It it just sounds so. You know, what's the term? Like, it sounds like such a contradiction. Like, you know, like I didn't lose sense of myself, but I also had literally no thought. And it was only a an instant, you know, maybe a second or two or three or whatever. And when you realize it, it's like it's like getting hit in the head. You know, it's like this. Yeah, I mean, I don't want to make it more dramatic, but it's like that. It's so shocking, you know, when you realize that that's what's happened, and it's like you realize it after the fact, right? You can't realize it during it because then you'd have a thought of it, right? So it's this really weird state. Um, because even in lucid dream, I mean, you know, one of the most profound things there is that, you know, you don't have, even though you're using the same mind that you think with here, the thing that seems to make it so, you know, this is only my theory. The reason that it seems so clear there, the reason that colors seem so saturated, that you know, I always see is like hyper real, right? Everything's so sharp, everything's so vivid, everything's so, I don't know
In
what it is.
lucid dreaming.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is because you don't have, you can hold a single thought in your mind. Like, you have no monkey mind. You know, you have no stray random thoughts from, you know, in my way of thinking, that's the chatter of the in the ether of everybody else that's even, you know, here. So, and you know, of course, that's like, I mean, I don't understand how any of us are sane, you know, because that's going on all the time, right? So, but to have that pristine clarity for an instant is like, it's probably one of the most profound things that I've ever experienced, you know? So, and in lucid dreaming, it's just that chatter isn't there, but it's still not no mind because you're still thinking, right? You're still able to maneuver and do and, you know, think about things and do that. But it's so energizing to a degree because you're not constantly deflecting all of these other things away from you to kind of keep your focus on one thing, right? It's
Mm.
like there is no random chatter in your head, which is, that's worth the price of admission right there.
Yeah.
Even if you just got there and sat down and just had that for a while, it'd be like, oh my God, it's like the best bed I've ever had, the best sleep I've ever had. You know, like it's just so comfortable, you know. And then when you come back, you realize, you know, that, how much we put up with here, how much energy that drains from us on a daily basis. It, I, I mean, I think that we all have the potential to do any of these things. It's just that that burden is so heavy in and of itself that it drains our energy all day long, so that we don't have it to focus on what it is that we're trying to achieve, or whether it's esoteric in nature or not, right? It's like,
Yeah.
if you know it's only people like, Elon and those guys that, can, like, are super hyper focused on certain things, and to the, everything else goes aside. It's like one clear channel, and they're just totally devoted to doing that. I mean, I think that's where a lot of autistic people have the advantage, right? They don't even, a lot of them don't even have, the distraction of like emotions to the level that we do, right? It's like, or the average person, right? Is just they can be high functioning, super focused on what they're doing to the exclusion of everything else. Look, I'm hoping that most people have had the experience of, time dilation when they're doing something they really enjoy, right? Like, you know, for me, when I was a kid, it was, reading, or uh, I used to put together these models, like ship models, and all of these, with the bad glue that, people would sniff to get out. My mom would put me out on this, screened in porch, because it was just the fumes, because I'd be doing it for, and I would lose, I mean, the whole day would go by, and but I wouldn't notice. I would just be so hyper focused on making everything perfect that, time would just go. I wouldn't know. My mom would have to, she tells stories of, like, uh, even reading a book, that she would literally have to come up and, it's time for
Yeah.
dinner. It's like she had called me half a dozen times, and I just like, I wasn't ignoring her. I did not hear her.
Yeah.
And so, just so engrossed in the story that, and those are sort of, little instances of that. And those are pale comparisons to what it is in a lucid dream. And the lucid dream is a pale comparison to no thoughts, as far as being these pristine moments of you just being, but not having to, like, even even when we're thinking, we're, in a way, we're naming things, right? We're thinking about things, we're identifying them and naming them, and that sort of anchors them to that thing. This place of no thoughts is so pristine because there is no naming.
Are
It's
you
it's
saying,
just potential.
yeah, I mean, it makes me think about Castaneda talking about how Don Juan would say, like, stopping the internal dialogue, falling asleep in the state of having stopped the internal dialogue is the transition into lucid dreaming from the waking
Correct.
state.
Yeah.
And that was their only, like, that was his only technique for transitioning consciously into lucid dreaming while laying in bed. I guess that was his thing.
Yep.
um and is that part of why you're saying that, because it's almost like a bridge from one place to the other?
Yeah, because
Like, do you feel like that's every time that you sit in your recliner and relax your body and you go into the lucid dreaming state, and you do that on command or whatever, is that, are you always in a state of, basically in a state of no thoughts when you do that?
I think it's, profound relaxation. I wouldn't say it's not. I wouldn't say it's no thoughts. I mean, that would be, yeah, a pretty. It still takes me a long time to get to that place, you know. Um, I mean, it's not quite the same. It's more that, when I relax my body, when I relax my mind, you know, relax the senses, it gives me a bit of space. It's almost like a internal sacred space, right? And so then when I when I form an image where I want to be, or in the lucid dream, because I always start at the same place, when I form that image, which gets, again, more and more consistent, then it's easy for me to, in focusing on that, everything else is excluded. It's almost like, again, that the idea with a like an electron cloud, right? It's like it's not that there's multiple ones. It's like it's moving, it's in multiple positions all at the same time.
When
And the
something's
only
in
way,
us.
yeah, and the only way that you can isolate it is by excluding everything, not by focusing on that thing. It's kind of the same, but it's from a I look at it, it's like one side of the penny or the other, right? It's like, you could think of it as you're trying to fix something as opposed to understanding that it's already there. You just need to exclude everything else away from it in order to make it the singularity, right? Or the
And
single
you
thing.
select it by putting your attention on it.
And and by building up enough insulation, so to speak, to be able to only focus on that, there's less and less things that are um, trying to pull you one way or the other. Like, oh, what's that sound? Oh, what's that visual? Oh, what's this thing? Oh, what's that? Oh, my skin touching the chair, or oh, like all of these things. Oh, what's that funny taste in my mouth? What did I smell? Oh, you exclude all of those things. It's putting up insulation so that the one thing that you focus on, whether it's a sound or a visual, that it becomes, it's there to the exclusion of everything else. It's sort of like it gives you that space to make that the primary focus of your, you know, um, everything. You want to be in that place. And because of that, I transitioned to that place. So, and it just happens to be that's the way I make the corridor into that space.
And would you say to some degree, like everything is like that
Yeah.
in terms of rending the veil?
Oh yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's just that, some people need, or not even some people need. I mean, I've used many methods to do that, right? It's like the gazing thing, the lucid dreaming thing, the ritual stuff, all of that stuff, the plant medicines, all of those things have a tendency to kind of selectively make that corridor, distraction, get pushed aside or insulated so that you can have a single focus,
Hmm.
right? And you can transition into that new place that, the majority of your attention goes. Your attention isn't on tactile, visual, auditory, smell, taste, all of that stuff goes away. I mean, that's how we maneuver in this. That's how we anchor this world into being, right? Again, you'll panic if I turn the light, if you were instantly blind, the first thing that you would yell out, probably most people would, because it's like, what the, what the hell's happening here, and you have no reference point visually, so it's like you'd be freaking out a little bit. So, um, uh, but you know, so in doing it like intentionally, sort of letting that go, letting that go, letting that go to sort of insulate yourself from the things that anchor you to only the physical world,
Right.
then, it makes that more of um, your energy percentage of your energy more toward the thing that you're focused on at the time. Again, whether it doesn't have to be a visual, it can be a sound. Sometimes I do it with sound. I'm I'm probably more sound oriented than visual oriented, but it's fun to do the visual thing, and it's relatively easy. So because we're visual creatures, no matter what anybody says, so we maneuver mostly in the world through vision, right?
So is your advice just to keep at it, kid?
No, I think the choice is yours, as everybody, you know. I just happen to really, really enjoy what I'm doing. I really enjoy it. It's the thing that I enjoy the most in this place. So, it's not, I don't have that tug of,
Hmm.
that I'd be split. Like, oh, I could do this or I could do that. Oh, I guess I got to go meditate. Or, oh, I should do this. There's no should. It's like, I want to. So, I guess that would be the same. Like, I mean, I've heard these stories about like, you know, Cristiano Ronaldo, and I'm gonna guess that that's not a very, very few people are on the level of that, right? That it's like he would sneak out of his house at night as a kid when everybody else went to sleep, not to go party with his friends, to go kick the soccer ball for hours and then sneak back into his house to get a couple of hours sleep. And then, and they couldn't keep him contained. He would sleep with a soccer ball. He ate, just what everybody says is kind of a, like everything about his life was soccer. And it wasn't the goal of being the best. He loved it. He loved every aspect of playing it. He loved every part of it. And I'm not going to put myself on the same level as that, but it's like, but that's, on my minor version of what I do, I feel that way. It's like you don't have to push me to do it. I love to do it. Every chance that I get, I'm in it, you know. But it not to the exclusion of my life, obviously. I
Hmm.
do, I mean, have family. It's like, I engage in this world in I think a pretty decent way, So, um, but if some other came into my room right now while we were talking and said, "You have, you know, I will take you to that place forever, but you have to leave all of this behind," there'll be other things, but you have to leave this behind, and you have 10 seconds to make your choice. That'd be not that hard of a decision for me.
Which way is it not a decision?
One show, goodbye. No. So, but and maybe that's what they really mean by not that aspect. I mean, that's, obviously a ludicrous idea, um, but maybe that whole
Well, it's
idea of like enjoy the journey, not the destination is
mhm.
what I'm saying. It's
It's
like
kind of funny,
I
like,
love the journey. I love doing this. I love experimenting. I love pitting myself against it. Even when I fail, I still love it. It's like
mhm.
I just I fail and I'm like, huh, okay. When do we go again? I absolutely love it. I love every aspect of it, you know.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It reminds me of something that Sadhguru says about, like, he said something like 90% of people that have like enlightenment experience, like they hit that like realization of being just an aspect of the one, or whatever you want to call it, um, and experiencing themselves as that. He said 90% of people just die at that moment, because the challenge, once you have that realization or that awareness, is actually holding on to the body. He's like it's very difficult to do both things at the same time, like, or to maintain both things at the same time in balance all the time.
and I think that's why we
Just
revere, if there is such a thing. I mean, I tend to believe that there is, but they're so rare and, and not many people get to actually engage with them. Is this idea of like ascended masters, that can they have that experience, but then they choose to stay here and help others, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, well, those are the Gandalfs and the whatever else, something of that ilk, right? The Buddhas and the whatever, right? Like they choose to stay here, and because they're so um, they think that something is so wonderful that they're just trying to help other people, anybody, even one person, to realize that as well is would be worth it,
Mm.
you know
Sure. Yeah.
at least for a period of time, right? And then at a certain point they probably, when's enough, right? Maybe some of them have stayed here for extremely long periods of time in our way of reckoning, and others, it was like, oh, I got my one. Okay, I'm out of here now. Off to my next adventure, you know. So it's yeah, I mean that's all speculation. I don't know. But you know, those are the things that I think about late at night or whatever, or when I'm drinking with friends or whatever. Hey, did you see that ball game? Not really. My head's up here somewhere going like, huh, I wonder what that would be like. Okay.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So,
Mm. Cool.
yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. Carry on, my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Don't you cry no more. I'm
What did
flashing
you have
back
that?
to I'm
Did,
flashing back to Dean and Supernatural, you know.
oh, I don't know.
You
I
know
didn't
that
watch the
that series that it was a fun series, but he
I
loved
mean,
that
I know
he
what you're
loved
talking
that
about.
80s,
Oh, yeah, yeah,
70s
yeah.
and 80s rock, and
Yeah.
like profound profound lyrics,
Yeah.
when people
Right.
were
Oh,
still
would he
writing them.
quote them a lot or something in the
He
show?
quoted all of those rock and
Yeah.
roll legends,
Yeah,
different
yeah, yeah.
ones. Yeah.
That's funny. Yeah. Hmm. I was gonna say, did you have that like in your head or something?
It just sort of popped in there, and
Yeah,
that
yeah,
was
yeah.
it.
That's funny though. Yeah. Sounds about right.
Hmm. Yeah, so there you have it. I don't know if I have much more for you today anyway.
No, that's good. I feel like that was really good. Yeah.
I hope it answered at least, we kind of danced around one of Pat's questions.
That was it. That was the main thing. There was one other question, but I was like, that's a whole nother talk conversation.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, I feel like it was good. It was good for me too. Especially your answer at the end there. Felt like that was really good. Yeah. It was
Yeah.
helpful. Yeah.
I just, it's like we can see those. I mean,
Because like I don't like the way that I feel about everything right now. Like I'm like it's like I'm I'm just trying to feel my way through of like how do I find what it is that you just talked about there with like loving every aspect of it? Because I just feel like really angry about like at like about like
how could you leave me here?
yeah,
You're
and I'm like
supposed to love me.
and I know it's like stupid, but I'm like
But you can't
and
help how you feel, right?
yeah, but I'm just like, all right, well, I'm not gonna be like, because then I'm because and the other thing is like I'm like, oh, like um oh well I should do the gratitude meditation, and like cultivate that like gratitude, so that like I can be more in that state or whatever. But a part of me feels like fuck you, like do I have to do that like multiple times a day every day just to not be in my baseline of suck? Like what, like is that my reality? It feels like a punishment, like having to do stuff all the time to just be in like a decent state where I'm gonna like attract the right thing or get to the experience that I want versus the one that I don't. You know what I mean? It's like it always feels like everything feels like it's filled with so much friction that I'm like, what the fuck? Like this is like I like I don't know. So yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
but dude, just remember, anytime you feel that way, just remember the thing that you're really angry at is yourself.
Yeah.
The one doesn't give a shit.
But like, but and I agree with you, but I'm like, but also it's like, okay, well, if I am, angry with myself, let's say, like what what is the remedy? Like what am I like because it feels like what I'm doing to myself is like draining myself constantly and not and somehow doing the things that will drain me versus the things that will give me energy um or somehow just doing the incorrect like technique at the wrong time or not having the right amount of like discipline with something or adjust, like it's like what am I doing that's kind of like putting me in this position, you know what I mean, of like feeling this way about myself and like my life or my choices or my experiences or whatever. It's like that's like I'd love the the $1 trick slash answer to that question. So it's like I could like it's like, oh, just stop. My question last night in my dreams, wasn't like I, I won't give you the whole sentence, but because the end is very specific to the end result that I was asking about in the dream.
Yep.
But it was literally like, what do I and I got this from like I forget the author, but it was like, uh, what can I do more of, do less of, start doing, or stop doing that will produce this outcome that will, you know, it's like, because that's the only thing I can do. I can only start doing things, stop doing things, or do more of something or do less of something. That's like the only like,
See, and for me, I would separate all four of those questions.
oh, really? You would? Yeah. Yeah. You
Yeah, because you get a single dream, and then it's like, what do you think? You're going to get a bullet list? Here's the stop. Here's the start. Here's the don't do. Here's the do.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. Yeah.
nope.
Yeah.
You're going to
Yeah.
get one symbolic representation, and then you got to figure it out again.
Oh, right, right, right.
So do
I
one
see.
at a time and
Right.
figure it out. The other thing that I have personally done is, and I'm not recommending this to anybody, but if you really want to test your resolve, or if you really want to test, why are you doing this or whatever, it's like, stop. Stop doing anything and see how you feel. Don't do anything. See if you can actually do that. See if you can just stop thinking about it. See if you can stop meditating. See if you can stop, making these correspondent connections. See if you can stop dreaming. See if you can stop asking questions. See if you can stop the whole goddamn thing and just walk away. And then see how long it takes you to slide back into it, or to start missing it, or to
Hmm.
whatever. It's like, I
Hmm.
mean, because at this point you got nothing to lose, right? I
Right.
mean, according to you, you got nothing to lose except anger.
Right.
Now
Right.
it's just like, okay, material world, here I come. Fuck you. I'm gonna do my worst, right? And that's it's like the full 100% of Dustin, on the warpath, in the physical realm. It's like all my, all my everything applied to the physical realm only. It's like, I've done that twice. You know that story, those stories. So,
Yeah.
you know, and that didn't work out so well for me. I mean, but it worked out for me in other ways, right? So it's like, but that really made it very, very clear, that just when I thought I was out, they dragged me back in. And I was serious, 100% serious. I mean, I really disavowed everything, you know,
Hmm.
and that was like, dark night of the soul, crisis of faith, whatever you want to call it, right?
Yeah, yeah.
To see what would, not to see what would happen. I really was resolved to do that. And
Yeah, you're so extreme like that. I love it. Or not, I mean, not extreme, but just intense. Like
no, it's fucking
good.
extreme. That's extreme. I am definitely an all or nothing kind of person.
Yeah.
It's like I don't want to just be able to do it. I want to do it excellently. you know,
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Yeah.
don't want to
Right.
just,
Right.
there's no, just being able to do it or do it well is not good enough for me.
Right.
So, um, maybe that's part of it too. I have no idea. I mean, maybe it's just literally I'm if it is just me being fucked in the head, I'm okay with that because my life is good. So I don't care, you know.
Right. 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 Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
nobody can take my experiences from me,
Right. Yeah.
with their words or whatever else, it doesn't matter. So, not to me anyway.
Right. Right.
So, yeah. So, I mean, that's another.
Option.
It's always an option. It's always an option,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that would, that would settle it for you, you know.
Right. Mm.
It's not like you're going to lose anything.
Right.
I mean, if you go back in, you're going to go back in blazing, So it's not like, seriously, no, look, I had some of my biggest gains after those two events, you know.
Really?
Fuck yeah. I was, born again or some bullshit like that, It's like, I was just like, I'm going every night. It's like, you know, it's just, catapulted back into it. Like,
And by going every night, you mean like lucid dreaming? Or?
yeah, I mean, like, just, and everything else. I mean, like, every spare moment that I had, I was devoted to the work, So it just, it,
Hmm.
for whatever reason, I can't, you know, I don't know. I can't even speculate on it, to be honest with you. It's like, I never really gave it much thought after that. It was like, but I had no doubts about it either, you
Hmm.
know? So maybe that's when things turned. Although, I can't honestly can't say that. I mean, I honestly don't know because, I've just been fascinated with these things since I was a child that I just, you know, it was never, I was always fascinated. I was always willing to devote time and energy to it. I was always, and I enjoyed it. I never felt, gotta do this again. Gotta do this again. No, it wasn't.
Hmm.
It's just never been that way. So I don't really have a reference point for that.
Hmm.
But um
Yeah, I guess it's almost like there's a part of me that feels like pressed into it, not
yeah.
by anybody else from the outside, but just like by, you know, at different times in my life for different reasons, but but
Yeah.
almost like it felt like something like I had to do or something to feel better, or whatever, like,
Yeah.
and it's like, it's almost like, I think that's where the anger comes from, it's like feeling like it's not like it doesn't feel like, oh, you know something I'm excited about doing or doing because of the love of it, but something I feel like I have to do if I don't want to feel shitty or something.
Well,
So
that's just fear of feeling shitty, right? Or fear of something condemning you if you don't do it.
Basically, yeah,
I
for
mean,
sure.
and that's, you know, that's the essence of most, you know, like definitely Christian religions and things like that. You
Yeah,
know, if you
right.
don't go to church, if you don't confess, if you don't pray, if you don't do this, you're gonna go burn forever. You know, like, oh, okay. You know,
Yeah, right. And
so it's like
I
it's
feel
fear
that.
based, you
Right,
know.
right, exactly. Yeah.
If I don't read my horoscope, I'm gonna get into trouble when I go out at night, you know, or today, you know. So it's like
Right,
those
yeah,
are
yeah.
all like superstitious fears, you know,
Sure.
but we
Yeah.
convince ourselves into it, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because what if, you
Hmm.
know, that what if, see, and I just turned that around. The what if for me is like the opposite of that, you know, it's like, you know, like I don't I'll risk that because the reward at the other on, you know, the reward is me doing it every day and you know, and having experiences. And I'm not saying like there's fireworks every day, right? It's like that's not the case, but um you know, it's not out of fear, it's out of want. It's out of desire to want to do it, you know.
Yeah. Right, right.
Yeah. So,
Yeah. Cool.
yeah,
Well, I will find that spark.
ponder it. Ponder that.
Yeah.
Challenge yourself to walk away.
That
See if that like flips a switch.
is very scary,
It
honestly.
is a scary thing.
It's
Look,
very,
you
it
know,
really literally is. I'm like, I don't know if I can do
well, I'm just saying,
that.
you asked me for an option.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just
No, it's
telling you.
good. It's good. It's very good.
Why you gotta do something that hard? Why you gotta tell
Yeah.
me the bad things, Brian?
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
my job. Make you wake up in the middle of the night screaming.
You're supposed to be a cheerleader,
That's
man.
right. You're supposed to love me.
That's great.
Uh,
All right.
all right.
Cool. Thanks, man.
No problem. I will talk to you soon.
Yeah,
We'll go
definitely.
from there.
Yeah. Yeah,
All right,
for
buddy.
sure. All right.
See you
See
later.
ya. Bye.
Bye.